wasn't just a slap. It was a statement, a moment so sudden, so reckless, it split the entire internet in seconds, and now everyone's asking the same question. Was this a random act of disrespect, or a perfectly timed stunt hiding something bigger? Because when a live streamer dares to put hands on a rapper in front of thousands watching live, that's not just chaos, that's calculated risk. And the moment it happened, the energy shifted in a way nobody could ignore. At first, everything looked normal, too normal. A 4th of July party in Florida, cameras rolling, laughter in the background, Lil Tjay casually interacting with Jack Doherty like nothing was off. Smiles, photos, conversations, the kind of calm that almost feels staged when you look back at it. Because what came next didn't match that energy at all, not even close. The tension didn't explode, it crept in, quietly, through words, subtle challenges. Tjay throwing out hints that he'd fight, Doherty pushing back, telling him to leave if he wasn't feeling it. A back and forth that didn't sound serious until it suddenly was, because neither of them backed down, not even slightly. And that's where things start to feel less like a misunderstanding and more like something building on purpose. Then comes the moment, the one clip that changed everything. Jay turns away, walks off. That should have been the end. That's how these things usually end. But instead, Doherty follows him. Why follow him? Why not let it die? Why step closer when the tension is already high? And then without warning, he does it. A slap. Clean, fast, direct, and then something even stranger, he runs. That detail matters more than anything, because it wasn't just the slap, it was the escape. Hit and disappear. No explanation, no follow-up, no standing ground, just impact and retreat. And that's when everything spiraled out of control. Because the moment his hand connected, Tjay's entire crew reacted like a switch had been flipped. No hesitation, no confusion, just immediate action. Bodies moved, people rushed, a full scuffle erupted in seconds. What started as a live stream moment turned into something raw, messy, unpredictable. People swinging, chasing, grabbing, trying to control a situation that had already exploded beyond control. And right in the middle of it, Tjay himself stepping forward, not backing down, trying to respond. Because once that line was crossed, there was no going back. But here's where it gets even stranger. Instead of laying low, instead of letting the moment cool off, Doherty goes online immediately. And what does he do? He claims it. Publicly, I slapped Lil Tjay, just like that, with a laughing emoji. No apology, no explanation, just bragging. And that single post turned a chaotic moment into a full-blown internet firestorm. Because now, it wasn't just a clip, it was confirmed. Intentional, planned or not, he owned it. And once that happened, the internet split instantly. Some laughed, some defended, some questioned everything. Was this clout chasing? Was it real disrespect? Or was it something even more calculated? Something meant to go viral from the very beginning. And then the reactions started pouring in. Fast, loud, relentless. Because when a moment like this hits, it doesn't stay contained. It spreads, it evolves. And the people watching, they don't just react, they pick sides. They turn it into something bigger than what actually happened. But here's the real question nobody can ignore. Why did this moment feel so familiar? Almost like it wasn't the first time something like this was meant to happen. Because when you start digging into who Jack Doherty really is and the kind of chaos he's built his name on, this slap stops looking random. It starts looking like a pattern, a setup, a move that fits a much bigger story that didn't start at that party and definitely didn't end there. Because once you step back and really look at Jack Doherty, that slap doesn't feel like a random burst of emotion anymore. It feels like something that fits perfectly into a pattern he's been building for years. This is someone who didn't just stumble into controversy, he engineered his way into it. From flipping water bottles as a kid to flipping entire situations into viral chaos, his evolution wasn't accidental. It was deliberate. And every step along the way, the stakes kept getting higher. First, it was harmless, bottle flips, millions of views, a clean, safe image. But that doesn't hold attention forever. And somewhere along the line, the content changed. The tone shifted. Pranks got louder. Interactions got more aggressive. Boundaries started disappearing. Because attention isn't free, you have to push for it. And Doherty pushed hard. Then came the incidents that weren't just content anymore. Crashing a supercar while reading live stream chat. Not a rumor, not speculation. A real crash, real damage, real consequences. But even that didn't slow things down. It became part of the brand. Something dangerous happened, and instead of stepping back, it got folded into the narrative like it was just another episode. And it didn't stop there. Lawsuits, altercations, getting banned from events for disrupting professionals mid-performance. Arrested in Miami for literally stepping into traffic just to film content. Think about that. Standing in the middle of the road, ignoring police orders, just to capture a moment. That's not normal behavior. That's someone who's decided that attention matters more than consequences. So when you line all of that up next to the slap, it clicks. It doesn't feel impulsive anymore. It feels like escalation, like the next logical step in a career built on pushing limits until something breaks. And this time, what broke wasn't just a boundary. It was a moment involving someone who doesn't play by internet rules. Because Lil Tjay isn't new to this kind of tension. His history with streamers was already loaded before he even walked into that party. There were past moments, arguments, situations where respect was questioned. And more importantly, threats were made. Not vague ones, direct ones. He had already said, more than once, that if pushed, he'd take things physical. So when that slap landed, it didn't land on someone unfamiliar with the energy. It landed on someone who had already been navigating it for months. That's why his crew reacted instantly. No hesitation, no pause, just movement. Because in their minds, this wasn't just a random act, it was something they were already prepared for. But then, everything flips again. And this is where the story stops making sense in a normal way. Because after the chaos, after the scuffle, after the moment that should have ended everything, they're back together. Same room, same energy, laughing, dancing, even hugging, like nothing happened. And that's the part that refuses to sit right. Because how do you go from a public slap and a near fight to celebrating together hours later? Was it real? Was it staged? Was it somewhere in between? Real tension turned into content the second cameras were involved? The silence doesn't help either. No clear statement, no direct explanation. Just footage and reactions. And in that silence, someone else steps in. Someone who's been waiting for a moment exactly like this. 6ix9ine, because if there's one thing he never misses, it's an opportunity. And the second that clip hit the internet, he didn't just repost it, he amplified it. Slow motion, zoomed in, dragging out the exact second of impact so nobody could look away. Turning one moment into something that lingers longer than it should. And that's what pushed this story into a second wave. Because now it wasn't just about the slap, it was about humiliation, rivalry, history, old beef getting new fuel, old insults finding new life. And suddenly, this wasn't just a viral clip anymore, it was a narrative that kept growing. So now we're left with 3 questions that nobody has fully answered. Was it staged? Will there be consequences? And who actually lost in this situation? Because the truth is, the clip is still circulating. The debates are still happening. And the silence from the people at the center of it, that might be the loudest clue of all. Something happened in that moment that we still don't fully understand. And until someone breaks that silence, this story isn't over.